important is Black history to educating our children?
It's extremely important because, you see, one of the things that I would challenge all of you to do, all of you, just as you, if each one of you showed up at your school tomorrow and went there at least twice a month, you could change that school. Just showing up, you don't even have to say it. I just want to see my school. But you're not going to do it. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to go buy this book, The Miseducation of the Negro. Carter G. Woodson, done in 1933, and he knew about you and me and us. And that young man over there from the 11th grade, where is he? The 11th grade young man, is he gone? Jerome house was the 11th grade there. I'm going to give you this book, son, because as you read Malcolm X and the rest of them, I want you to read Carter G. Woodson, so you won't grow up like him. That's right. Because basically, what we end up saying is that we become as a people, it's a bigger problem. We come as a people, we're not a help. If you want to find out about the testing thing, here's another book. This is Chicago too, recently. You read this book called Freakonomics. Freakonomics, read the book called Freakonomics. You only have to read half of chapter 1 because it talks about why people cheat, and this is the case study of Chicago. You'll think you're reading about it now. And this was just 2000 something, just before the Secretary of Education came in there. Read those two chapters, that's one chapter. Find out, we got a bigger problem, people. And we can attack a little bit if we want to, but we got to change our whole sense of being.
Brother Derrick, I wanted to make a comment on that. It's so strange and interesting that I'm sitting next to the superintendent who talked about the infusion of African American culture. About 2 years ago, I went before the board, and I go before the board probably every month. And I talked about the fact that, where was that curriculum? I have been asking my board members, where's that curriculum? I want to see that curriculum. We had talked about it through the African community centers, and I just want to know where that curriculum was and why we weren't really utilizing the school system. And to this day, they have not been able to find it.
They erased it after I left.
Yeah.
And when black folks, they erased it. Black folks erased it.
No, it black folks, those were some Negroes. That's a big difference.
That's right. That's right. And really, what is happening with our young black boys is, to me, a product of the disconnect of who they are and their teaching of who they are as young black men and their responsibility. Beyond going outside of our community, we have allowed and I'm a hip-hopper. I'm a generation hip-hopper. I'm born 60 to 80, which is the hip-hop generation. But what we have allowed is the music industry, hip-hop and entertainment, not hip-hop beyond entertainment, to control, to be the moral ground, to show young black boys how to be. And unfortunately, it is not above board. It is not with respect of education, respect of black women, respect of families and children. It is not that. And what we have not done in our community is shown an alternate way of being in life. This father over here said he's been asking these men for 100 of them for every Monday, and only 12 of them have signed up. We have been trying to do that to bring in mentors for young black boys and young black girls who don't have fathers in their homes, and we can't get our community to step up to the plate. We can blame and point the finger all we want to, but until we decide that each one will teach one and take one. I have children in my house all the time that don't have the last name of Taveres. And I was at the school the other day for a young man who was a senior at Mays High School, who I've been knowing since 5th grade, decided to drop out. I have been up there talking to the principal, talking to his mother who works in the cafeteria young, talking to people to try to get that young man, talking to the graduation coach. Is he my son? No, he's not. But am I concerned about a young black man dropping out in his senior year? Please.
Why are our boys generally checking out in the first place?
What is quiet as it's kept is that our black boys, when they get to about the 2nd grade, are either doing great work or a little ahead, and it's somewhere around that 2nd and 3rd grade that we lose them.
Yep.
And once we lose them around that time, it's hard to catch them back up. And then secondly, we have to have a conversation about something we don't like to talk about, and that is mental health in the black community. Suicide is a direct I mean, that's like number one. Suicide by cop is one of those things we don't talk about. It's basically killing yourself, but letting someone else do it. And for black boys who are in so much pain, looking for ways out, their suicide numbers are growing quietly in the community, and we aren't doing anything about that. So when we look at them, that's one of the reasons why I'm a proponent of separate schools for black boys. I think they should have their own schools. The curriculum needs to be specified. There need to be black men in the building. You know, and the discipline needs to be there. And so we need to go back to that old school paradigm for them with black men and put them in a building and center it around them. We need to build the education around them for today's needs.
How many of y'all think that should be single gender schools only? You would send your child, if your son or daughter would go to an all-boys school and your daughter would go to all-girls, how many of y'all would? Wow. Wow. Very good. What do we do to stem the dropout rate and get it beyond 34%?
One of the things, there's a duality going on here. Because there are responsibilities that we all have. Some are personal responsibility in our community, in our families, and then there are policy responsibilities. As an elected official, I do policy. We have to make sure that we hold our families and our communities accountable, parents in particular, but at the same time, we have a responsibility up at the state capitol when we make policy to do the right thing. And the bottom line is that in the last 8 years, we've cut $4 billion out of public education. $2 billion in 7 years, and in the last year, another $2 billion. Because there are people in this state who are in policy-making positions who will tell you, we do not want public education. We want to do away with the public school system and take that money and put it into vouchers and private schools. So we have a policy responsibility to make sure at the state capitol, as well as on the local and federal level, that the resources are there to educate children.
All right, Dr. Walker, you're on the school board. What are you all doing when you see a dropout rate? What do you do when you see it for young black men?
Let me preface my comments on that question by dittoing what Senator Fort said. We're at a severe crisis in public education in the state of Georgia. Now, we need to pause for a second and absorb a lot of what Senator Fort just said. We have individual responsibility, we have family responsibility, and we policymakers have a public responsibility. And in this public responsibility arena, especially starting with the state of Georgia, remember I was telling you about role classification? They get their roles confused. They can't do nothing but to get him to do the right thing, and then they start jumping on lowly school systems, trying to be a school board member when they ought to be down there trying to get that man to release that money that he's taking from us. So I'm telling you, we are at a severe crisis in public education. We've got people who are so imbued in that Darwinism theory. Now you better hear me. That they want those of us who are struggling to disappear. They want those of us who are having a difficult time getting education to stay ignorant. They are not serving the public good by doing what the public law says. We have what you call educational entitlement put in by state law. The governor ignored that entitlement, and he's supposed to give you, for example, $100,000 through austerity budget, and he'll give you $75,000 and keep $25,000. Going against the law, sir. Laws that they passed, and nobody answering that. So Derrick, I had to get my little 2 cent worth in on public policy and how the policymakers are shortchanging the public in the area of public education. And citizenry, you better wake up, because if you don't, you're going to wake up and your public schools going to be been replaced by them charter schools and all the other schools that the other folks have a little more money to pay to go to,